So thank you all so much for coming to talk about this really important topic about starting your own business, or even if you have your own business, about ways that you can be successful and find more success for yourself. Last week, we talked about goal setting, and I said today was going to be a continuation of that. And the reason for that being is last week, when we talked about goals, I sent you in the email a workbook that was about goal setting. That workbook, you may or may not want to use it for your goals, but that workbook is really important because it talks about your why. So whether it's a goal for New Year's resolution or it's your business, you have to know your why. Why do you want to start a business? Why do you want to do what you want to do? Even if it's, I want to go volunteer at a shelter, you have to ask yourself that really important question: why? Hey, Mary Lynn, thanks so much for joining us. Why do you want to be doing this? And the reason for that is that, like, let's say you want to start your own business and you're like, well, I want to start my own business because I want freedom. But maybe starting your own business, if you want it just because of freedom, that might not be the best way to get freedom for yourself, because starting your own business, when you first start, you don't really have a lot of freedom at all. For the first year or two, or sometimes three, depending on how you're setting it up, and we'll talk about that, you could be really busy and lose a lot of your freedom. So you have to know your why so that then you can decide, well, what does my business look like in conjunction with my why? So your why is a really important question to ask yourself. And in the workbook, there's a little part where you can like go in and really walk yourself through that question of why you want to do what you want to do. And then the other question you need to ask yourself is, once you get your why down, okay, you want to do this business, you want to have, like, let's say, an animal Reiki business. And the reason for it being you want to support other people. So now you're like, okay, I know my why. My why is very clear. Now we got to decide, how much time can I devote to my business? So are you going to do a full-time business? Are you going to do a part-time business? Is this going to be a business that's just kind of like fly by night? Like, oh, when I get a client, I'll do this business. You've got to really decide, what is my time commitment to my business? And you have to stick to that. I think that a lot of times what happens, and I saw this in a lot of my entrepreneur groups, was that commitment to start a business, but you don't make a commitment to the time that take that business viable. Um, and so, for instance, let's say you want to start a business and you're like, okay, I'm going to start my business. And, but your day is filled with, like, I got a message this morning from a woman and she said, I am taking care of my mother full time, but I really want to start a business. Well, my advice in that case would be, don't start a business. You don't have the time that it's going to take to commit to a business. So right out the gate, you're setting yourself up for failure. And when you set yourself up for failure, you go down this shame spiral. And then you're like, oh my God, I'm a failure. I'm not good at business. All these things that aren't true. You start to incorporate those into your beliefs. So we really want to look at, what kind of time do I have to commit to a business? And so I want to take just a minute and just say hi to Marlene and Gabby and Brenda. And we have Gabby from San Francisco, and then we have Gabby Weiss joining us from the Peninsula. So hello to both the Gabbies. Thank you so much for joining us. And then I also, just really quickly, since I've stopped, Erica says, hi off camera today, walking the pup. Erica, that's lovely. We love hearing that. And then also Lulu said, hello, everyone. She's happy to be here. So welcome, Lulu. We're happy to have you. So we have to look at, what kind of time are we willing to commit? So it's not even like you can have all day available to start a business, but what are you willing to commit? So are you willing to give 8 hours a day to a business? And I would never suggest that, because you never, even if you're working in a full-time job, you're never working 8 hours, right? It's like, stuff happens. Really, 4 to 5 hours is what you want to commit. But do you even have that to commit? Like, let's say you have kids, or like in this woman's instance, she has her mother that she has to take care of. She's her mother's primary caregiver. So stopping and saying, oh, yeah, I'm going to devote even 2 hours to a business may not be realistic and may set her up for failure. But she does volunteer at her shelter, which is what started her wanting to have her own business. So, what I say in that case is continue to volunteer, continue to refine your skill, continue to become an expert. You don't have to start your own business, especially if you're a member of Sarah, for instance. In Sarah, when you're a member, you get the opportunity to purchase business cards that have the Sarah logo and Let Animals Lead, and then your own personal information. We have brochures that you can add your own personal information to. So you can go out and say, hey, I offer Animal Reiki sessions, or I offer Animal Reiki treatments, or I am eligible to teach you through Sarah. Like if you're a practitioner, we have 3 classes that you can teach, like the stress management and, a couple other classes. Or if you're a Sarah teacher, I am licensed to teach certain classes. You don't have to have your own business. You have to have a way to collect the money, PayPal, and you have to be ready to claim it on your taxes. But you don't have to have your own business. Now, I don't want to, I have a tendency to go off into a million directions. I want to really focus on our why in this today. So we can talk about this another time. It is really important if you do something like that, if you are getting like 1099 type money, that you really do want to have an EIN and you want to have an LLC. But we can talk about that another time, because right now I want to just talk about getting you started and really giving you something to think about before you start your business, or if you're in a business, things you need to be thinking about right now to make yourself successful in your business. And thank you so much for joining us, Carolyn. I just saw that you popped on, and I thought I saw Anne pop on, but maybe she lost. Oh, wait, we have more people. The screen's so big. It's so great. We have so many people. Thank you so much, Anne and Gretchen, for joining us. So really think about the time that you have, and then what you want that business to look like. So for the woman that's taking care of her mother, she probably only has the time that she has to volunteer. So I say focus on that, focus on getting stronger and better at your animal Reiki practice. And then you'll feel a lot better when you start to do your regular business. So really think about your time. And so her instance, she doesn't really have a lot of time. Maybe, like I was saying, you do have a lot of time, but what are you willing to commit? So you might have a lot of time, but let's say, well, I like to exercise, I have kids, or I like to volunteer, or I have things I like to do during my day. So you have to really look at your day and say, out of these 8 hours of like workable hours, what am I willing to commit to my business? And maybe it's only an hour a day, or maybe it's like 4 hours on Friday, but only an hour a day every other day. That's okay. That's workable. That's doable. You just have to design your business and design your work hours so that they are compatible with what you have to commit. Because I've seen this so many times, like I was saying in my entrepreneur groups, people want to start a business, but then they get overwhelmed, overloaded, and they say, I just don't have time. I'm not good at this. I'm a failure. Nothing's working. I'm putting this out there. I'm not getting a response. But what's happening is they're doing it kind of half-ass. They're like trying to do what they can when they can. And then they put an email out and they don't get a response. And they think, oh my God, I suck. Nobody wants to hear from me. That's not true. People have to see something 7 times before they want to buy. So somebody has to hear from you 7 different times before they might even be interested in not even buying, but just listening to you. So for example, when Jamie and I started these calls a couple of years ago, or last year, I guess it was last January, we only had 2 or 3 people showing up. Now today we have 27 or 26 people here, right? So you have to give yourself the patience to grow what you've built. You have to give yourself that patience to get out there and reach. But that doesn't mean that you stop what you're doing. You just start building. When Kathleen started, so really exciting news, Kathleen started Animal Reiki Source 20 years ago. And this is a really great example for starting a business. So Kathleen was a teacher. She taught full time. and she learned Reiki in 1998. And she started to volunteer at the Berkeley Animal Control. And she started to see how, she started to build like what Animal Reiki was to her. And so before she opened her doors. And when she did, she didn't have a following. She didn't, and that was way back, like she didn't have social media. She didn't have the internet, was like very rustic, right? She had a website, but she would have classes with 2 to 3 people. She started small. And I think she started teaching a little bit before she finally quit. I don't think she quit teaching for maybe like the first year. So she got part-time. That's totally fine to do your business, like to work full-time. I always tell people, they're like, oh, I want to quit my business, quit my work, start a business. Don't do that. Don't ever quit your job and start a business. Start your business and see how it feels. Because you might decide, yeah, I started this business. I like doing social media. I like emailing. I don't like having a structure. You might find things that, you know what, I'd rather work for somebody and get paid and then volunteer my time to do stuff. So don't ever quit your job to start a business unless, you've been kind of moonlighting and doing things. Then yes, that's fine. Just get experience first, and then you can quit your job, and then you can focus on your business. And it's kind of a great segue too. Whatever spare time you have now, if you work full time, just dedicate an hour at either the beginning or the end of the day where you can focus on your job or focus on your work, focus on creating this business. It also gives you time to start networking with people, start figuring out what works, what doesn't for other people, what works, what doesn't for you. You can start maybe getting mentored by someone. You don't have to go all in when you start a job. When I was before I started my edibles company, I had already been making edibles for people with cancer. So I already had experience making edibles. I had already perfected low dose. So when I moved to Oregon and low dose was like a new thing and people were like, oh my God, I don't know how to low dose. I already knew how to do it because I was already doing it for other people. And I was just lucky at the way that worked out. People didn't want really 100 milligram cookies. They wanted 5 milligram that they could eat the whole cookie. So I learned how to do that. So when I got to Oregon, I was already set. It wasn't that it was easy to start a business, but I already had like some foundational practices that I could carry with me into my business that really helped me. Another thing you want when you decide to open your own business is you've got to be committed. So a lot of people are like, I don't have a business. And you're like, great. So how much are you going to commit? And are you going to like make a regular commitment to it every day or at least 5 days a week? It's like, oh, well, I can't. I've got this going and this happens. And, I've got life, I've got kids, I've got blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, then probably not a great idea to start a business. Probably a great idea to volunteer or do some moonlighting and see what you do have time for. But you've got to stay laser focused. So the reason my edible company worked, the reason Kathleen's Animal Reiki source worked is she wasn't distracted by other things. Yes, she had, I don't think she had indigo at that time. She wasn't pregnant yet, but she was married. She had animals. She had a job, but she was committed to her goal of supporting people with Animal Reiki. So you have to be really committed to what you're presenting. I was really committed to making edibles to help people with cancer and to help people understand that cannabis wasn't the bad, evil drug that the government was trying to feed us. It was actually something that could help you with stress, with pain, with all these different things. So my goal was very clear and I was very laser focused on that business. And it's why it was successful, because I didn't have things distracting me from my business. And that's a really important point to consider. How much time do I have to be laser focused on my business? And then when I am laser focused on my business, like when I'm working, when I say, okay, I'm going to devote 4 hours to my business, am I really laser focused? Am I letting things distract me? Am I letting my phone distract me? Oh, there's an email. Oh, this thing came up about the war. Oh, you're there trying to work, but now you've got these distractions popping in. That's not dedicated time. And pretty soon you're going to have worked 4 hours. You're going to have very little to show for it. And you're going to say, I can't do this. It takes me way too much time. I spent 4 hours on Monday. Did you really? Did you really spend 4 hours? Or were you distracted during that 4 hours? And it's so, this is the thing, just like with the goals, tiny habits. Tiny habits are so important when it comes to starting our own business, because you can start doing what's called the Pomodoro. So I'm going to put it in chat. You can Google it. The Pomodoro technique, which I love. This is where you devote 25 minutes. They have like timers. You can do Pomodoro on Google. There's timers on YouTube. And it's where you just do laser focus for 25 minutes. So let's say you have an email to get out. Laser focus 25 minutes. You have 25 minutes to work on it. It's almost like you have a time. You're committing it and you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. Or you're going to do social media. I love Pomodoro for social media because you can't allow yourself to get sucked into the rabbit hole, because you only have 25 minutes and you have to get on, answer some comments, post something, and get off. And when that timer goes off, you go, boom, I'm done. You let it go and you move on to the next thing. Now, that doesn't work for everything. If you need to write a blog, 25 minutes probably isn't going to be enough. If you need to edit your blog, 25 minutes is probably going to be plenty of time, and you should stay committed to it. The reason Pomodoro works is because it creates that little pocket of time that's completely focused. And once you do that over and over and over, even if it's only once a day, start to train your mind like a muscle that you need to be focused. And it's really important for us to do that, because we live in a very distracting world. We have our phone, we're constantly distracted. I am like queen of distractions because and nobody can multitask, but I always convince myself I am a great multitasker. Well, that's bullshit, right? Because I can do a lot of little things great, but when it comes to laser focus, like writing or something, I just, and it takes me forever. So you really train yourself. Your mind is a muscle. You train yourself to be focused. So, just really quickly to go over again this, think about your why. Why do you want to start a business? Now think about your time. What kind of time do I have to commit to my business, right? What am I willing to commit to my business? And is it even, so Gabby says, oh my God, I need to hear this so bad. I need to start baby steps volunteering. Someone wanted me to work with them at their center, and it was a scam. She works with animals here in Los Altos. So I got a little discouraged because I saw she wanted to use me. Yeah. So thank you, Gabby, for sharing that. That's really important. And I love that you figured out it was a scam pretty quickly. That's the universe saying, slow down, sister, pump the brakes. You don't have to be rushing into anything, right? We have to have clarity. And here's the really good news, everyone. So most of you are let animals lead practitioners, teachers, right? And I am here to tell you from personal experience. I've been doing this practice for 16 years. This practice is what is going to make you successful. So when my cannabis business, in cannabis, it's not like your business is like this, little ups and downs. You're like, boom, 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 boom. I mean, I was in an earthquake almost daily because the laws are changing. The labs are screwing up your product. You have to throw product out. You're making money. You're winning awards. You're losing money. You're on the verge of getting shut down because something was in your toffee that shouldn't have been. It was too high. And this is all these things. So of course you're going to cry. You're going to say, oh my God, you're going to cry. But then in your practice, you have that peace. You have that tool where you can go, okay, I'm going to center myself. And when you center yourself, now you can look at your business and say, okay, this is happening. So now one of three things has to happen. You need to fix it. It's just a problem. Okay, there's a solution. You need to change it. Oh, I'm doing it this way. I got to change this. Or you let it go completely. Letting it go is hard. So I had two businesses at the same time. I had to let go of Sconed. And the reason I had to let go of Sconed was the taxes were going to make it impossible for me to make any money. So the cannabis space is taxed at almost 75%. That's crazy. You aren't making any money. You can't write off cost of goods sold. So when we looked at, our business, it was successful. We were making money. I loved it. It was a part of me. This is the danger of having your own business. It was a part of me. So every time I put something out, I'm putting Leah out there, right? If someone says your toffee sucks, it's like, oh my God, I suck. Your toffee is great. Oh my God, I'm great. That's not true. It's a business, it's a product. People are going to love it, people are going to hate it. It's just something you're putting out. Yes, there's a part of you in it, you love it, but it doesn't reflect on who you are as a person. It doesn't reflect on your value. So I had to look at Sconed and really meditate, and thank God I had this practice, and look at it and say, okay, yes, this is my baby. I love what I do, but I am not going to make money. Do I want to go out on top, or do I want to keep struggling and slowly see all my profits start to fade away, and then me start to become broken and start to then feel like I'm a failure? I don't know how to do a business. It has nothing to do with me. It has to do with the circumstances of the business, of the industry. So no matter what you're doing, whether you're doing animal Reiki or any type of business, you have to look at things as a whole. You have to step back and look at it from like an eagle's viewpoint. You have to look at it at the whole complete overview and go, okay, what is happening? So I was able to let go of Sconed when we were still successful, when we left with our name intact. People missed us, and that was a really good feeling. And then we put all our focus into our other business, and that business started to thrive because now we could be completely focused on Bake Smart. And so our practice is so important. It's really funny when I was thinking about business today and all of this, I was thinking it's so crazy how animals help us not only be better animal Reiki practitioners, better people, they make us be better business people. Because if you're thinking about starting an animal Reiki business, right? And we know from our animal Reiki practice, you can't BS animals. They see us for who we are, they feel us for who we are. We can BS other people. That's why human Reiki works, because of the whole placebo effect. I always use the example of my arm hurts, Kelly comes. I know Kelly's an incredible healer. I start, oh my God, my arm feels so much better, right? Because I'm allowing that. My mindset is that Kelly is a great healer. But if I say I'm a great healer to an animal and I go up to that animal with all this crap and anger and emotion, the animal's like, get away from me. But with our business, they teach us the same type of thing. We have to have that honesty. We have to have that clarity. We have to have that strength in order to look at our business and see it for what it really is. We have to look with our business eyes, not with our emotional, egotistical eyes, right? So just like we look at our animals and we see them for the beautiful animal they are, not for what's happening on the outside, we can look at our business and see it for what it truly is, not for what it might be happening on the outside. So on the outside, Scone was successful. But if you looked at it deeper, it was going to fail. So I had to really step back and look at, with an eagle's eye, what does Scone look like? Another thing you can ask yourself, and this is really good for people who already have a business too. You look at yourself and you look at your business and you go, okay, in 5 years, I'm crazy successful. What happened in that 5 years to make me successful? And what it does is it tricks your mind, and it makes your mind switch and look at your business like, oh, you're looking down a tunnel. You're looking at backwards like, oh, what did I do? Oh, maybe I got help with social media. Maybe I, got a mentor. Maybe all these different things made my business successful. Maybe I got really good at blogging and I got a following, whatever that is, you can start to really look at it. Another way you need to look at it also. So you look at 5 years, you're super successful. You look at 5 years or whatever your litmus, years are, and say, I failed. And you look at it from a failure point and you say, what happened to make my business fail? And the reason that's important is that you have to be aware of the bumps you're going to hit. And you have to be flexible. You have to be able to move and go with the flow, because your business is always going to change. You're going to have to pivot. You're going to have to do different things. And a really great example of this is Kathleen. I was talking to her yesterday. And, we're in a financial crisis right now. People are really scared. There's a lot going on with the energy of the world. And it's that collective energy is affecting all of us, right? So we're all feeling that kind of, oh my God, nothing's going to work. I can't charge this. I can't do this. There's this, heavy energy on us. But Kathleen started to get really heavy, and she decided, you know what? I'm going to offer payment plans. So she found a way to offer payment plans. Now, the way Kathleen's doing it, most of us probably can't do, but what you can do is on your classes, you can say payment options available through PayPal. And through PayPal, if you have a PayPal or a Stripe account, you can do the same with Stripe. You can invoice people. So let's say you have an 8-week class, you can do an option to teach or to give them an 8-week payment option, or you can do a 4-week payment option, or you can do a 2-month payment option, or you can make it longer and they just don't get their certificate until they pay. You can make it some way, or you can say you have to pay like this much to make it worth it, so you can pay for your manual or whatever that is. You have to make sure your costs are covered in that payment plan before the class is over. And most people are really honest, you're not going to have problems with payment plans. But that opened up, she went from barely being able to fill her class to completely filled classes. So that was a huge pivot. But, Kathleen, and she jokes about this, and so I'm not, dissing her in any way. She has the give up gene where she'll say, oh my God, this is never going to work. And, so she starts to go really dark and really down. It's totally natural. All of us do this. All of us who are in business. I know Kelly goes through it. I go through it. We all go through it. We all go through our negative spells. But the important thing is to go into your practice, go into your meditation and look at your business, look at what's happening and say, okay, what can I do? So even starting your business, going into that space, what is realistic for me? What is my true goal here? What is my desire? And really looking at your business, so your business idea is to maybe sell photographs. Let's say, you want to do a photography business because you love taking pictures and people love your photos. But maybe you don't like business. Maybe you don't like social media. So you have to look at your business and go, how can I make this successful without social media? It makes you look at your business differently when you look at all of the ways that you could fail and all of the ways that you could succeed. And it's just a different mindset. And one of the books I'm reading right now that I really encourage you to read is Do the Impossible. And I think his name is Jason Breeze. This book is amazing. Oh, whoops, I did that to Gabby and not to everybody. Sorry about that. Let me do this one more time. The reason I love this book is that he talks about failure. We don't want to fail. None of us want to fail. But failure is learning. One of my business mentors, Dr. Benjamin Hardy, he has a great book I'm going to talk about in a minute called 10X is Easier Than 2X. But he always talks about you're never losing, you're always learning. And it's true. You think about times where you failed or times when something happened that felt like a failure, you learned something from that. Even like with Gabby, going to this woman, she learned something from it, right? Now she's learned, okay, whoa, maybe I'm not going to be all gung-ho about this. I'm going to go slower. She learned something. It's not a failure. And in the book, Do the Impossible, he talks a lot about that. Like he gives the example, if you love basketball and you want to play basketball, but you're afraid of getting elbowed in the face, so you never get on the court, then that's a failure, right? Because you're scared, so you're preventing yourself. So like it's the same with business. If you're afraid to get out and fail in business, then you might never start your business. But what will happen is you might fail in some areas. God knows I've failed. I mean, I've started lots of little things and, didn't have the guidance or the knowledge that I do now, but I don't look at them now looking back as failures. I look at back at them, oh, I learned a lot from that. And I didn't repeat the mistake, right? That's what's most important. You don't repeat that mistake. You learn from that failure. So if you look at it, your failure and go, I suck, I'm such a failure, I'm just not good at that. That's not learning. That's a shame spiral. And that's different. But if you can go, whoa, like with Scone, oh, that didn't work out. Well, why didn't it work out? Well, the taxes. That has nothing to do with me. Had nothing to do with my ability to have a business, my ability to make good edibles. It had to do with the circumstances of the industry. And that's different. So when we can look at this, what might fail, what might succeed, and we can look at it with that eagle's eye, with that leaning back perspective, we can now get more information for ourselves to help us be successful. So when you're starting your business, there's just so much to consider before we even, I know you all came here and went, oh, Leah's going to tell us how to start a business and we need to do this, and this, and this, and this. But I can tell you that, and I will give you all that information in another call. But you've got to do this work first. So it's just like if you go to work with animals. I know in my Animal Reiki for Reiki practitioner class, and those of you who are my students here, it's you come to the class, you're like, wait a minute, you're having me work on myself first. I'm supposed to be working with animals. I'm not liking this class. But by week 4, they're like, oh, I get it. And I feel so much better and I feel so much stronger. It's the same thing with your business. You've got to do that emotional work, that mindset work. And that's why I love Do the Impossible, because he talks a lot about mindset. You know, you go into that business, well, and Kelly and I have talked about this, and so no judgment, because this is a personal experience. I'm never going to make any money teaching Animal Reiki. There's no way to make money teaching Animal Reiki. And I'm reading this book and going, okay, of course there's a way to make money doing Animal Reiki. You're not looking at this. I'm not even following my own advice. I'm just, I can't do it. I'm never going to make any money. Of course you can. Of course you can, because the impossible only seems impossible to you because you can't get your mind around it, but it's just uncommon. That's what Jason says. Impossible isn't impossible. It's just uncommon. So you think about like our phones, you know, like you got your phone, it's a computer in your pocket. Only 15 years ago, even like 10 years ago, they've come so far. We didn't have this capability that we have today with like the great, oh my God, these amazing cameras. 10 years ago, we didn't have that, and we couldn't even dream that would be possible, but it just wasn't common. So you think about Steve Jobs and how he created the iPhone, the iPod. It wasn't, what he was doing wasn't impossible, to have one song that you could buy and put on a little gadget, and then you didn't have to buy the album, like, or the cassette or whatever it was. You know, we all had those things where you had to buy the entire album in order to get the one song that you want. And Steve Jobs did what could be considered impossible and made it possible. It just was uncommon. So when we think about Animal Reiki and we look back, and congratulations to Kathleen. This is her 20th year. I think she opened Animal Reiki Source, she started her website. I think it was April of 2004. So 20 years. Now, for all of you who are Let Animals Lead practitioners, or you just believe in the Let Animals Lead method, maybe you've come here because you know that there's a better way, I'm here to tell you, Animal Reiki Source, this method, thank you, Erica. Yes, it's very exciting. This method of Animal Reiki is the oldest school of Animal Reiki. And I dare anyone to come and contradict me. I want someone to come and show me a website. I want them to show me curriculum that was being created back in 2004 or earlier, because people love to say, oh no, I've been doing Animal Reiki longer than Kathleen. I've been doing it since 1990. And it's like, but have you? Have you? Did you have a curriculum? Did you have students? Did you have a system? And the answer is no. Kathleen started small 20 years ago, and look where she is today. She is the leader. She is the creator. She is what inspired all of these other Animal Reiki schools to start doing an actual system, right? So we have a lot to be proud of when we stand and we look at where Kathleen is. She was one person who did an impossible feat. That's all of you. Now, Kathleen appeals to certain people. There are billions of people, right? Kathleen appealed to certain people. You appeal to certain people. I appeal to certain people. There is no competition, because we all have our own tribe. We all have our own voice, right? My voice isn't Kathleen's voice. Kathleen's voice isn't mine. My voice isn't Kelly's voice. You know, Ivana's got a different voice. Lisa's got a different voice. Everybody has their own unique voice, and you have a tribe that is going to resonate with that voice. So don't worry about, oh, Kathleen, you know, is teaching and she's getting these students. Yeah, she is. You just have to get yourself out there. And so don't worry about how you're going to get students right now. Right now, I want you just to think about, what is my why? What is my time commitment? And what does my business look like, right? Like really do that deep dive. What does it look like if I succeed? What does it look like if I fail? What does my business look like? What feels comfortable to me? And again, this is where your practice comes in. Do a meditation. What feels comfortable? When I think about my business, what fears come up? Because you've got to address your mindset right away. You've got to cure that mindset. And last week I gave you a handout, and Wilma, thank you so much for mentioning that, because I completely forgot about it, on money mindset. So Denise Duffield Thomas, she is the money mindset queen. She has so many free resources, and that handout was a free resource. I didn't get it through signing up through an email, so I felt comfortable sending it all to you, but I encourage you, go to her site. I have paid for her programs. I have been mentored by her. She is amazing. She talks all about how if you grew up like thinking, money was scarce, you will carry that into your business. If you in like your 20s had problems with money, had problems saving money, had problems making money, you will carry that into your business. So you've got to address your money mindsets. When you start thinking about, wow, I'm going to make, like, let's say $100,000 this year. And then your brain goes, oh, no, you won't. What? How are you going to make 100 grand? What? There's no way. You're not even making this. You have to say, I know, I'm going to figure it out. Because here's the difference. There's a really great book by Dr. Benjamin Hardy called 10 times is easier than 2 times. What that means is, like, let's say, okay, so let's say you make, $300 a month right now on Animal Reiki, and you're like, I want to make $600 a month. Well, there's so many different things you could do to make $600 a month. You could just try to get word of mouth, try to get more people to sign up. I mean, there's little things. But let's say you're like, okay, I want to make 10 times. I want to make $3,000 a month. Now you've got to think a little differently. You're like, whoa, I want to make $3,000 a month. Maybe I need to start getting on podcasts. I need to get my voice out there in a big way. You start thinking bigger. And it's not like it's not a literal like, oh my God, I'm going to go 10 times this. It's just having that desire to see bigger. So Sarah is a really great example of that 10 times effect and how quickly it happened. When Kathleen in April of 2008 said to me, I want to start a nonprofit to bring, Animal Reiki to the world, to shelters all around the world. And I said, well, why don't you? And she said, I don't know how to do it. I go, I can set up a nonprofit. I know how to do that. I can do all the admin. You do the teaching and this, and we'll start Sarah. So we start Sarah, and we started with, I think it was 27 members. And out of those 27 members, I think at least 9, it might have even been more, dropped out because they said they didn't want to donate back to the shelter. They were going to teach Animal Reiki. They wanted to keep all the money for themselves. Do you remember this, Kelly? We had those discussions, and it was like, what? Why wouldn't you want to give back to the shelter? But people didn't. And so you could look at that as a failure. We lost these people, right? Oh, wow. Right out the gate, you lost at least 9 people. It might have been more. And I kind of feel like it was, but I'm just going to say 9. You could look at it like, wow, you guys got off to a really rocky start. It was a cleansing. We don't want those people. We would rather have quality over quantity. And we made that commitment right then and there. Because of course, Kathleen and I were like, oh my God, should we change our policies? What should we do? You go through that panic mode. You're going to panic. You're going to go, oh my God. But then you have to stop. That's where your practice comes in. Wait a second, pump the brakes. We don't want those people. They are not in alignment with our goals and our ethos. So we let them go. Then you fast forward to 8 months after we started. I think it was maybe 8 or 9 months. One of Kathleen's international students brings on Remus. So in 8 months, we are now international. What we thought was going to take years took months. Now, did we consciously say we're going to 10x this business? No. What we did, and this is where that directed energy, that concentration comes into effect. We knew we were going to be international. We didn't know how. We just knew we were, and we prepared for it. When we get international clients, when we get international, we just prepared. It was that. And when you put that out to the universe, I'm here to tell you, law of attraction is so freaking simple. It's having that goal and knowing that nothing else is possible. It wasn't even in our mind, oh, what if you don't get any? We just knew they were coming. We didn't know how, we didn't know when, we didn't have to. Because look at that, 8 months later, we had an international, huge, one of the biggest horse rescues in the UK was our member. So that is just, yeah, we manifested it, but it wasn't even like I think a lot of people get, I've got to manifest this, I've got to put this into play. It was more of, we were laser focused. There was no other option. So that's what I mean. It's like with the law of attraction, when you want something and you think of something that you really wanted, there's just no other possibility. I remember when I went to go work in Silicon Valley, when I was moving from a small town in Central California, San Luis Obispo, going up to, Silicon Valley. And people are like, oh, you're going to have to commute on the 101. And I'm like, I am not commuting to go to work. I am not. And they're like, well, you're never going to get a good job. People are like, and this is why you don't talk to people about your plans. If they're naysayers, only talk to positive people. That's why you come here, because we're all a big, healthy group. But they would say that. And I'm like, I'm not going to commute. And so I interviewed for my very first interview. I wasn't going to have to commute on the 101. I was going to have to commute, of course you have to commute, but not on the 101 and not even on a freeway at all. And I had a great job and I got paid exactly what I wanted to, right? It was the first job interview I had. And I was like, oh, this is great. Yeah, that's where I want to be. And it was a great firm. All these things fell into place. It wasn't because I was like, okay, universe, this is what I want. It was me just saying, no, there's no other option. You can tell the universe, no. And no is really powerful. We're taught, oh, you got to be positive. You got to put it out to the universe. Oh, I want this. That's like begging. No, universe, I want this. No, I do not want that. Denise Duffield Thomas talks about that too. She'll say, you send it out to the universe. Oh, I want to make this, or I want a pizza. I want a pizza. And the universe says, what do you want on your pizza? Surprise me. So it's like saying, I want my business to work. Well, what do you want your business to look like? Surprise me. So you get a pizza with anchovies all over it. And you're like, I don't want this kind of pizza. And the universe is like, well, you didn't say. You got to be direct. And so Carolyn Drew says, law of attraction and knowing, you guys just knew it would work. Exactly. It is that knowing, and it's telling the universe there's no other possibility. We will be international. So you can say, I will be successful. Universe, I'm demanding it. And the universe will start showing you different ways. I mean, you're here on this free talk, right? It's like, I'm giving you free information. I'm giving you information that's taking me thousands of dollars to find out, but I'm reducing it down to something super simple so you don't have to do that. So it's easier for you to go out and start your business. And I don't want to talk the entire time because I want to leave a few minutes here, but that's kind of, just think about that. Go and work on this. Go back to that workbook. You don't have to use it for goals. Just use it. Just use that why question. Use it for your business. Use it for your current business. Why am I doing this? What does it look like if I'm successful? What does it look like if I fail? How much time am I willing to commit to my business? And there's no shame. You don't have to commit 6 hours a day, every day. Or, I'm going to be working in the morning. I'm going to be working at night. No, because you'll quit. You'll feel like a failure. It's a recipe for disaster. Do what is workable and doable and build up from there, because it will all come together. And then, and then Wilma says you're attracting new students with the Zoom call. And this is something I hope you guys get encouraged by what I've gone through, because like I said, a year ago, 2, 3, 4 people would show up and people would say, well, you give away so much for free. People, are just going to take advantage. No, I feel good giving this away for free, because guess what happens? And this is something to think about. Taya, who I just love, Taya Strom, animal communicator, who's one of our mentors and friends, and we highly recommend, she does a talk for Sarah about boundaries. And, you got to be really careful. What do you give away for free? Do you feel good when you give it away for free? Because if you feel even an ounce of, this doesn't feel good, you trust that. And you back off and say, no, I'm not going to give that away. Your time is money. If somebody is asking you for your time and you don't feel good about it, then you pull back and stop. I feel really good about this. Like, my schedule might change. I might have to change the time of this to 12 p.m. Pacific, but I am not going to give this up, because I get so much out of sharing. I get so much out of hearing from all of you. I get so much out of this community, building it together and all of us supporting each other. There's so much value for me in this. So for me to give away this for free, and even when I'm doing my emails and I'm giving away, like, you know, the workbook, or I'm preparing things for you for free, I don't resent it because it makes me feel good. Now, if outside of this group I'm asked to do stuff for free, yeah, I start to pull back because it's like I only have a finite amount of time. So I'm devoting my time to all of you and to Sarah and to my business. You know, I don't have that much time to devote outside of that. So you've got to look at what you're offering and say, okay, does this feel good to me? And again, this goes back to our practice. You just check in with yourself. You just calm your breath, check in with yourself and say, does this feel good? And it's okay to say no. Get used to saying no, ladies. We don't like to say no. We're raised not to say no. I mean, especially like I'm 60. Kelly knows this. Olive knows this. We're raised to be like, say yes to everybody. Be nice to everybody. Be polite to everybody. And that's not healthy. It's not healthy. Yes. Oh, Wilma. Yes. Practicing that word now. Yes. No is okay. It's okay to say no. No is a boundary. Boundaries are good. When you have a boundary, it's clarity. So Brene Brown says, to be clear is to be kind. To be unclear is to be unkind. When you're setting that boundary, you have clarity. I have a friend, Amy. I know if I say, hey, Amy, do you want to do this? And she says, no. I'm like, don't ask Amy again. Because Amy's got a boundary. If I say no, I mean no. If I say maybe, I mean maybe. If I say yes, I mean yes. I mean, Amy's very reliable. She's very trustworthy. But I have other friends that'll go, yeah, okay. And then they really mean no. And so it's really unclear. So you're always like unsure. You don't want to do that. You want to say no. And yet, no is a complete sentence. I love that, Kelly. You always say that. No is a complete sentence. It's so true. And I want to get to Wilma. Wilma says she's to offer free grooms and people think I'm nuts. No, this is me. I feel good. And I know they will be back. Exactly. Like you have to find that space. That's a really great example, Wilma. So Wilma does dog grooming and she's very good at it. And, you know, she's added animal Reiki to her grooming. And at first she got some flack and some pushback, but people started to see how much calmer their animals were when she groomed them because she was adding animal Reiki. So don't, you know, when you get pushback, when you get flack, and this came up from in an email from Dennis earlier this week. He was like, oh, what do you do when people are like, I don't believe in animal Reiki, or I don't want animal Reiki? It's okay. You say, okay, you know, are you open to me demonstrating it? Are you open to me talking about it? Are you open to me giving you a chair treatment? And if they say no, then say, fine, that's okay. They're not your people. You don't want them. You don't want to have to work to convince people, oh my God, this is a great thing. You already know it's great. Next, move on, right? So I'm going to open it up. You can unmute or raise your hand. Oh, Liza said, I am apprenticing under someone learning lapidary and silversmithing. Oh my gosh, anytime something goes wrong, my teacher always says, it's not a mistake or a failure. It is a learning opportunity. Exactly. Thank you so much, Liza. And I love that Wilma and Olive gave you a heart for that because that is so important. And then Wilma says, I get comments all the time about how their pet is after they leave here and makes my heart smile. I know this works. So you get a lot of satisfaction out of freebies. So just really check in with yourself. So let's open it up. We have just a few minutes and then we'll do a meditation before we leave. Yeah, Lisa, I saw that you went. Oh, no. Okay, it's anybody. Olive. Yes.
Quick question. I just joined Sarah just like a couple days ago. And I said yes to the donation. Right now, I'm just expanding my practice. I'm in level 3, so I'm working with Kathleen. I'm expanding my practice and adding different things to it. But I have been working as a volunteer, and I only work with horses. That's me, the horse girl. My question for you, Leah, is I was out working with one horse, and I do grooming, massage, Reiki. Those are my skills. That's what I do.
Okay.
And one of my friends of a friend, I have 7 horses right now, so I'm kind of busy, but she wanted to pay me. And right now I'm still at a volunteer level. But I understand what you're saying about the money. And my question for you is, if I said yes, that's great. pay me, is it too weird to like maybe start off by saying I have Venmo, PayPal, you can make a donation? Like to start off with money, or do I have to have like a pricing? Because I'm not anywhere near that, but I wanted to
So
say yes because she
this
kept
is
trying to give me money.
yeah. And so Lisa says she's on the barter system. So there's issues with that too, Lisa.
Okay.
But the barter system doesn't always work. And so here's where the money issues. This is where money mindset comes in. And
Okay.
and no judgment because this is me. I'm okay with my classes, but anything where I'm offering it to somebody, I have such a hard time. That is a block in flow. You've got to be open to accepting money. So really work on that, Olive. Work on that. I deserve to be paid. I like Denise Duffield Thomas says, I serve, therefore I deserve. So I deserve to get money. It's hard to take money that first time, but that's okay. And I think having Venmo, PayPal, or whatever is great for you. So then you go, oh, thank you so much, and get into that oh God, what am I trying to say? That flow of receiving, because
Okay.
you're always giving, you're out of flow. So get into that flow of receiving and say, you know what? I really appreciate you being willing to pay me because, to be honest, I have a problem. I know that my service is valuable, but I have a problem accepting money. And then it makes that person feel good. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for accepting. And then never devalue the Reiki, but it feels right. I do it. Yeah, right. Lisa, I mean, you do what works for you. The reason I say the barter system doesn't always work is that you have to be really careful about what you're bartering for. And you have to trust the person you're bartering with. So what will happen sometimes is you do a barter. I did this one time with an Ayurvedic person, and I ended up giving everything on my end, and she only gave half on hers. So it wasn't really a great barter system. And then I had my acupuncturist say, hey, will you give Reiki to my dog? And I'll give you like 5 free sessions. And I'm like, no, I'll give you your Reiki to your dog and you can give me 1 free session. That's a barter, right? You know, so you kind of have to also be helping people with their barter system.
I
Yeah.
just have
Yeah.
I said yes.
Good.
So I didn't like not receive what she was saying. I said yes, that would be lovely.
Great.
Um, so I gave her my Venmo account and she put $50 in it. Wow, okay. But the thing is, for me, it's not about the money. And
Right.
I want to know how does that, if I have somebody donate to my practice, then I want to know how that works so that I can send it to Sarah. If
Oh,
I if I don't need it, how do I get it? If they put it in my Venmo account, should I just
you,
Venmo it to Sarah
you,
or
well, we don't do Venmo.
PayPal?
You would just deposit. So through Venmo. So Mary Lynn's asking about Venmo. So Venmo is an app, Mary Lynn, and it's tied to your bank account. And so
Okay.
people can Venmo you money. You get a certain like handle, kind of like a Twitter handle or a social media handle, and then they pay you. And then you can transfer that money into your bank account, or you can Venmo other people, but Sarah isn't on Venmo because it's like PayPal, they charge you and it's a whole hassle. So what you do is you transfer it to your bank account, and then from your bank account, you make a donation. And it's a better tracking system for you, Olive, because
Oh, okay.
you
Okay.
know, then you can show you made a donation from your personal bank account. And then, you know, it's easier to track that way too. And then you'll get a letter from us. But and then Wilma says she has email and she transfers it into savings. So you just have to kind of find
Okay.
what works for you. I like PayPal. I also have Venmo. I also have Zelle. Zelle is like, not all banks offer Zelle, but Zelle is a direct bank account to bank account. You can do it from different banks. Like my mom banks at Wells Fargo, I bank at Chase. She can Zelle me money. You just have to make sure your bank has Zelle. So that's one way you can do that. But that's great that you accepted the money, Olive. That's great that if you don't need it, that you're willing to donate it. I think that's a beautiful
Well,
service.
isn't that part of like the contract with Sarah? Like,
Oh, no, 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 no. And that's the misunderstanding about Sarah. So with Sarah, it is your volunteering services, whatever. If someone offers to pay you to do Reiki with your horse, that's your money. That's you're working, you're doing it. That's your money. If you teach a class, that's
mhm,
what we ask for people to do
okay.
it back. And
Okay.
not even to Sarah. Like, so let's say at the horse place where you are, you end up teaching and you get paid, you know, $1,500. Well, for me or Kelly or any of the other teachers here, Judy, whoever, that you're going to donate anywhere from 25% to 50%, whatever you feel comfortable donating back to the shelter. I would always, when I would teach, I would donate 50%. If I travel, I only donate 30%. So when I go to care, when I went to the monkey sanctuary in Gainesville, I only donated 30% because I had to pay for my travel. So there's ways that you can, support the shelter, but you don't have to give anything to Sarah unless you just decide, oh, I'd like to make a donation to Sarah, or I taught a class for the public at my house and I don't have a shelter, so I'm going to make a donation to Sarah. Sometimes we get money that way, but no, your money for offering sessions, that's just your money. And that's a way for you also to get in that flow again. I started, therefore I deserve, because don't forget, ladies, like in Olive has a different situation, but you have to pay for your training. You have to pay for the things that you need to support you in this practice. You have to pay for your rent. You have to pay for your food. You have to pay for your bills. So if you're constantly giving stuff away, how are you going to support yourself so that you can be of service? So it's okay to accept money. And I love that Olive is in a situation where she can, she doesn't have to be paid. She can donate her time. So Mary Lynn, yes, thank you so much for
real quick. Venmo,
and I'll get straight to you.
Okay.
Right.
Venmo is done through your bank, so I would have to.
So Venmo. We should talk about that on a separate call, Mary Lynn. I'll send you information about it because that's kind of a long conversation, and I don't want to have time here for that. But yeah, Venmo.
Can I share something real quick, Leah?
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, please.
What I was going to say is something that helped me when people ask me, to volunteer or to give an exchange. I used to just say yes all the time, and I get myself in situations, right? Because I'm always giving and giving like we do, right? So I started saying, I'll give back with you. It gives me an opportunity to figure out an equal exchange of energy that would work for me, that may work for them. And if that doesn't work, think of an alternate plan B. And that always gave me time to think about, meditate and think about what would work best and then offer that. But instead of saying yes or no, I would say, I'll get back with you. Right. And that's a complete answer too.
Yeah. So. And I like that because it gives you that space to then stop and say, does this feel good? Does this not feel good? But a lot of times we're in that situation where you feel pressured. Don't feel pressured. Just say, oh yeah, that's a great idea. Let me think about that, because, and you can just put it on yourself. I just want it to be fair to you, right? And then just go and think about it. I love that, Anne. Thank you so much for sharing that, because that is a really great advice. Just give yourself that space of time. So Jill just says, thank you. Oh yeah, of course, Jill. Thank you so much for joining us. And so we're going to, and Lisa, I'll get to you in just a sec. We're going to kind of continue this next week. We'll talk a little bit more about more of the kind of business things. But for this week, I really want you to think about your mindset. Go look at that money mindset handout from Denise Duffield Thomas. You'd be shocked at the money mindset issues you have. And it's not like you ever cure them. You might be like, oh, okay, yeah, I can make this much. But then when you get to your next plateau, you start to sabotage yourself. So if you think deep inside, I'm only worthy of making like, 20,000 a year. And all of a sudden you get an opportunity to make 70,000. You're like, oh, that doesn't feel right to me, right? So then you will sabotage it. And in the book, Do the Impossible, he talks about that, how he was offered 200,000 and he had never made that in his life. And he sabotaged the job interview. And then when he was making that, he got fired from a job after 3 months when he was a really good employee, but he sabotaged it because he didn't believe he was worthy of it. So there's a lot that goes behind money mindset that we all need to work on. And it's a continual working on it, but it's also fun. Denise makes it super, super fun. And there's no guilt or shame in it. And we have all grown up, if we grew up with, like, I remember grandparents of the Depression. I was just with my partner, Michael, and he likes to save all of the little plastic containers. And I'm like, you didn't grow up in the Depression. Why are you saving all the yogurt containers? He's like, I don't know. My mama did. And I just am used to it. So Liza, thank you so much for this. Yes, for coming in. Erica. Thank you, Erica. Yes. Thank you for joining us. I'm glad you're here. So we're going to do a meditation. I know some of you have to go, and that's totally fine. But I always like to close off with a meditation. And if you can stay and you want to wait till after the meditation, if you have a question, I'm totally fine staying. But I do want to respect other people's time right now. So we'll do a quick meditation. It's hard for me to go from to. We're going to do that. So we'll just bring our hands into Gasho. And I love Gasho because when we bring our hands into Gasho, we're starting to center ourselves. We bring our left and right together. We're at our heart, and immediately we just feel our heart infused with peace just by having our hands in Gasho. So beautiful. This is a small mini meditation right here, and it's really helpful to calming yourself. And so let us set our intent that we're open to receive whatever it is that we need most at this moment in time. And let us also set our intent that we are willing to release anything that no longer serves us. And whenever you're ready, put your hands face up or face down in your lap. And let's just focus on our breath, doing 3 deep, hard breaths, deep belly breaths, breathing in deeply through your nose, expanding your belly, pulling down into your hara, and then slowly releasing the breath out your mouth. And when you release your breath, feel the tension and the stress also releasing within your body. You're breathing in life and energy, and you're breathing out all stagnation. And so we're going to bring our breath down to a more normal pace. But again, we're going to breathe in gently through our nose, pulling our breath into our belly and expanding it. And on the out breath, release your breath through your mouth as if you were releasing it through a straw. This breath of pursing our lips into a little O, like we're breathing out a straw, it helps to calm our body. It comforts our nervous system. And it's a really quick way to bring relaxation into your body. Now I'd like you to concentrate on the feeling of breathing in life, love, joy. And on the out breath, breathing out anything that no longer works for you. You're breathing out stress. You're breathing out anger. You're letting go of worry through your breath. And whatever you let go of is instantly replaced with love, compassion, peace. So that as you breathe in and out, you start to feel calm, peaceful, loving, hopeful. By letting go of what no longer serves us, we are reconnecting to what does serve us, our inner sense of love, our inner sense of peace, our sense of strength. There is so much strength within you. And you can easily tap into this place of groundedness, strength, stability by focusing on your breath, pulling it into your belly, and slowly releasing it out your mouth. Let us bring our hands into Gasho, and let's set our intent to keep this sense of peace within us throughout our day, knowing we can always come back to this breath work whenever we feel stress or anxiety or anger or worry. And then open your eyes and bring yourself back into the room. And thank you so much, Olive. I really appreciate all of you being here. I want to say one more thing to you as we close out. This is something that one of my mentors just recently said to me on Saturday. He had a little webinar, and he said to me when I was talking to him about some of the problems I'm having, he's like, what if it was easy? What if it was easy? So when you look at what you're going to do, think to yourself, what if this was easy? What would that look like? And that really helped me shift what, because we want to make everything so hard, and it doesn't have to be hard. Nothing has to be hard. Everything can be easy. Everything can be with flow. It's really our own personal perception and our emotions that we put on something that makes it hard. So just ask yourself that quick question. What if this were easy? What would that look like to me? And one more thing I want to share is Kathleen is releasing the 21-day meditation challenge. So for those of you, you might have the 21-day meditation book that Kathleen wrote. It's on Amazon. You don't need the book for this meditation challenge. On World Animal Reiki Day on February 5th. Oh, thank you, Anne, so much for coming. I really appreciate your presence and your energy. On World Animal Reiki Day, February 5th, the challenge is going to start. And Kathleen has recorded videos for every single animal for each day for 21 days. And it's all about the precepts. This is an excellent time for you to get back into the precepts, for you to study with Kathleen in a very, it's on your own time. It's a challenge, but I think these are going to be released as recordings. So you'll be able to do it at your own pace, your own time. But to have 21 days of animal energy and the precepts is so powerful. So if you have students, encourage your students to do this. If you have friends, encourage your friends to do this meditation with you. You don't have to have Animal Reiki experience to do the 21-day Animal Reiki meditation. You learn the precepts, and the precepts, I believe, are the most powerful tool we have in our lives to keep us grounded, centered, hopeful, peaceful, compassionate, and loving, right? So share this, look for it. I think she's going to announce it maybe next week. I'm hoping by the time I send my recap email on Friday, I'll be able to send you more information about it. And then we have our World Animal Reiki Day event on Sunday, February 4th at 10 a.m. Pacific. That's going to be all of us at Sarah. So all of you who are members at Sarah, I hope you can join us on Zoom. We've been sending out the link through our member email, but also, we're inviting the entire public to come and join us. The reason this is really important, whether you know Animal Reiki or not, if you're an animal lover, we have the opportunity to raise the vibration of the world by coming together in that space of joy, love, and peace and hopeful energy, right? So you can look up, if you look up peace projects from the late 80s, you will find peace projects. There was one with, it was 7,000 Vedic monks, and they meditated. And during the 2 years that they meditated, terrorism dropped 75%. And they marked it. The wall came down in Berlin during that time. Apartheid ended during that time. We want to think that everything is hopeless, that there's no curing war, there's no curing anger, there's no curing this. There is hope. So by coming together on Sunday, February 4th, and if you only have a few minutes, just come in, say hi. We're going to be allowing some of the public to speak, just to say what they love most about animals. We're going to invite our Sarah members to speak. Just a minute or two. It's only an hour and a half. But yes, Wilma, there is hope. I love this. Marilyn said, thank you, Leah. Glad we're continuing this business session. By the way, tonight, 7:30 your time, activate Reiki to influence global peace. So yeah, we can do this together. So I hope you can join us. There's going to be more information, but thank you all for staying late. If any of you have a question and you want to stay after, I will stay a few minutes, but otherwise, thank you all for being here, for sharing your beautiful energy, and for supporting this group. I am just so happy. Yes, and Wilma says, yeah. Bye, everyone.
Bye, Leah. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Have a good week.
Bye.
Bye.
Everybody. Bye.
Bye.